So you challenge that claim? What?
Hold on, I'm reading it right now. Let me just to make a claim that all whites are racist due to the history of America is as true as making a claim that you should drink Windex because it looks like Gatorade. Yeah, honestly, I see where you're coming from there.
Do you agree with it, or?
Yeah, I do, because I don't think that you could generalize any group of people as racist.
You never really can, because there's always people in that group, even if, let's say, a majority of them is, there's not everyone.
Exactly.
Let's even say there is a majority of white people that are racist.
Right.
Not everyone is.
Right.
I mean, obviously, there's going to be racist people in every race.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I don't think the majority of people are racist.
I think people associate racism with a lot of different things.
They do, for sure. For sure. I mean,
like, I'm not going to judge a person on their skin tone or anything like that. I'm going to judge them on the type of person they present themselves to be.
Exactly.
If you present yourself as a gangster, if you're white, black, Asian, I'm going to look down on you according to someone that's working hard in school and stuff.
Right.
Depending on just how you set your goals and stuff.
For sure. I agree. 100%. 100%. I mean, I don't know. I think our society has been taught to differentiate between things like that. Things as simple as, I mean, you're a Christian and I'm a Muslim, or you believe in this and I don't, and I think that's wrong.
Yeah. I think people are taught to be easy. I think the media has a lot of hand into racism today because they make it seem like it's so alive when it's not really.
For sure. For sure. And it's not even that it's not alive. It's more about the fact that, I mean, there's 300 million people in this country. So, I mean, if you want to like pick out and really focus on one example of quote unquote racism, as racist as that may or may not have been, I mean, you're taking a very small sample size of what's really out there.
Right, yeah. When the media reports on these white cops shooting an unarmed black person, there's usually a reason they were.
Right.
Like, maybe, I'm not saying they deserve to die. I mean, I'm not going to judge any cop's idea to shoot someone. I mean, I imagine I'd be scared if I was out there dealing with that kind of stuff every day.
For sure. And that's what all these people on the other side of the fence don't realize. I mean, to say that, like, let me think here. To say like a white cop wasn't in his rights to kill a civilian, okay? Because that civilian was black. Whereas if that civilian was white, it wouldn't even be an issue.
They wouldn't even make news.
No, at all. Not any sort of news. And that's wrong. But the problem that remains is when you give one side that little bit of momentum or that little bit of power, they take it and they run with it. And they don't stop. To the point where, I mean, I don't know, nobody has guns, nobody is allowed to come into the country. I mean, all that shit.
I just think racism now is blown out of proportion into, like, the media makes it seem like it is very alive and it's a huge issue in our society when it's really not that big. Like, it's an issue, but I mean, it's not that alive.
Would you say that's like a top 5 issue in our society right now?
A top 5 issue in society or in our country?
in our country, because I mean, our country is, I mean, we're basically the benchmark for society.
I would say it makes the top 10, but I don't know about top 5 because there's a lot of important deals that we have going on with other countries and stuff that I think should be shared more into that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely an issue. It might be, I would say 5 or 6.
Okay. Okay. So what would you put above that?
Above it meaning a 4 or 5 or a 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
4, I would say all the school shootings,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the children of our future that are being gunned down by madmen and stuff like that. Or any shooting, not just school ones.
Right.
3, I would have to say probably the media, how they portray different things and how there's fake ones out there that can really. There's a story in the news where some guy went into a pizza shop because there was a fake news story saying that that pizza shop had
Ties to child prostitution.
child prostitution or something like that. Guy
Yeah.
came in with an AR-15 and started
Shooting.
He thought,
Right.
2 would be foreign affairs, I think, because I think we get too involved in them, but we can't really help how involved our government is in other countries. But I think that would be an issue. I don't know what 1 would be actually.
I don't know. I just think that, I mean, as powerful as we are as a country and everything like that, that's beautiful. But I think at the same time we take it too far in so many areas, and we end up being like basically the bullies of the world.
Like
And
when
we
we
end
try
up,
to spread our democracy out to
yeah,
other
but
people.
I think our air quotes democracy is ridiculous.
Democracy.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't work. I mean, if you can't look at this past election and see what a joke this whole thing has become, I mean, I don't know.
Do you think we should have electoral college or should we have just popular votes?
That's a good question. I see the reason for both, but at the same time, I mean, I also see the fact that it really shouldn't be one person that we elect that's in charge of this whole thing.
Like no judicial branch, no.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I would say like it's not so much the checks and balances after you get elected. It's just it's how you get elected and what you have to do, and kind of like the favors you end up having to owe, and I mean things like that, where it I mean to the point where it's not any longer about what's best for the country. It's about what's best for your interests or what's best for your party's interests. And that's definitely all wrong.
But in your opinion, would you agree with a one person, one vote, or what we have now with the electoral college? Like, I know you said you don't really know.
That's a tough question, my friend, because
I would say electoral college is more needed because if you look at where populations are, we're not really giving a voice to the smaller people. Because if we didn't have electoral college, California, New York, and Florida would control everyone's election.
right,
Because they have the most population. That would give,
right,
I guess, the more popular areas of Pennsylvania.
exactly. Like Trump would have lost the popular vote based on California alone.
Yeah, because California's a big state, and we all knew that one's always Democrat. So
Right, exactly. And that's not right either. But I also don't think that it's right that, I mean, you're basically presented with two choices, or you throw away your vote and vote for a third party. And I don't think that's right, because I think there was a lot of people, especially in this election, that weren't satisfied with either candidate. So, but you still have to vote, right?
Just
So
the colorblind one, they like start screaming and throwing bottles. What? I'm talking on this thing. Yeah, that's it. Hold up 1 second. No, yeah, I saw the video. The colorblind test, they're screaming. He's like,
no.
"Stop fucking up my house, man! You ruined my house. Why shit?" Text me that about that. All right. That's pretty funny. All right, whatever you can. All right. See it. All right. Sorry about that.
You're good. So what were we talking? Okay, Trump. Who'd you vote for?
I'm not old enough to vote. I'm 17, but
who would you have voted for?
Definitely Trump.
Okay.
Who did you vote for? Or who would you have?
I didn't vote, and to be honest with you, if I had to have voted, I would have probably voted for Trump, but that wasn't based on like any sort of political position of where he was at. It was definitely more based on the fact that basically, as long as Hillary isn't getting elected, I'll vote for whoever is going to win. But if I would have, if I would have took this whole election and voted for who I really believed in the most and who I really thought was the best man, quote unquote, for the job, women, whatever, it would have been Gary Johnson.
Oh yeah. I just didn't really like how. I think Gary Johnson was a good guy. I just think like he was acting too childish towards the end. Like he saw. Did you ever see the thing where they were talking about marijuana? And they say, and after an hour, I just think that's. I mean, it was funny. Obviously, that's a pretty funny thing. But I just think it's sort of childish as a like he shouldn't have done that. Like he should have explained that. Obviously, that's not possible. But he should have shouldn't have joked around that way to get him more votes. That probably lost him a couple.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, somebody that is a third-party candidate like that, and that is...
They need all the media they get. They got a lot of media from that.
Exactly. And
I think there should be more parties. I agree with you on that because, I mean, I do and I don't, because we do kind of, that whole 6 months before you even have your two people, you pick from groups.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's my whole thing is I really don't think that we need more quote unquote parties. I just think that the American public, or the voting public, or whatever you want to say, they need to understand that you don't have to vote for Democrat or Republican. And
right.
There's so many people, especially with this election, that you ask them who they voted for and they say Trump. Okay. So you say, well, why did you think Trump? The only reason I voted for Trump was because we can't get Hillary in there. And it's the same damn thing, vice versa. You vote for Hillary. Why'd you vote for Hillary? Well, why not? I mean, we can't have Trump.
You can't have a sexist. I don't really think he's sexist or racist, but that's
right.
What most people.
Right, but you can't have Trump in there. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So people end up getting so torn between these two choices that I think the majority of the American people would agree are not the ideal choices for the highest office in American politics, but they still vote for them. And why is that? Because we've been presented with this idea that if you vote for a third party, you're throwing your vote away. Like, it doesn't matter. You have to vote for the Democrat candidate or the Republican candidate. And if you don't do that, you're throwing your vote away. Well, now you end up with so many people that are sitting there saying, like, how did we end up with Hillary versus Trump in this election? Because I
Yes.
mean, it has really become a fucking movie. I mean, it's
I mean, to be honest, I like Trump. I like some of his ideas, but I mean, he definitely would have been my like. I would have liked Marco Rubio. I liked his ideas and how he presented himself more than Donald Trump.
mm-hmm.
I mean, they both weren't really good choices. Anyone can agree on that.
Right.
Even
And
some of the most hardcore Donald Trump fans can say that.
and that's my
I mean, he
point.
still won, but
Right, exactly. But that's my point, is like, all these people, they end up in that same exact situation where they're trying to figure out who to vote for, this or
I
that,
think
and they don't even acknowledge a third party's ideas, because they think, well, it really doesn't matter what they say. If I vote for them, it doesn't matter. And I think that voting for someone that you don't truly agree with their ideas and the ways that they want to, like, change things and stuff, that is how you throw your vote away.
the one thing I see it as is like, I'm sure you've played Madden, NFL, or whatever.
Hell yeah.
When you want to create your own character, let's say you want to create one of your own, you can only pick so many things that you have good. You can't make it exactly this God character.
Right.
Well, some of them you can, some you can't. That's sort of my idea with how presidents, where you can't have your number one. The only person that's going to present all your ideas would be you yourself.
Right.
You have to pick a person that you most agree with. Obviously, you're not going to find that person that says everything you 100% agree with. If you do, then you're damn lucky.
Right.
And that's the thing, like, everyone's different. Like, even me and you, we agree on a lot of different things, but if you go down to it, there's things everyone disagrees on.
Right.
So if you were to have so many different choices, we wouldn't really have a president that, like, with the two candidates we have, it's pretty much the votes are pretty close most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have, let's say, 4 different ones and one person wins with 30% of the vote and everyone else gets like 10, 15, whatever they would get, then we only have 30% of the people that like that person. 70% of America didn't like that person. That's what I see the reason with not having more parties.
But I mean, if 70% of America likes that person, that's not based on 100% of America voting.
Right, obviously. But
So,
that's just the way I see it.
I mean, and that's why, and that, I mean, it kind of goes back to my whole point. Like, I don't think that this job should be held by one man. I don't think one man, I mean, you you can agree with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that shit until you're blue in the face, right? But
Right.
the one thing that you cannot deny is when those words were written, the people that wrote those words, they could not have possibly fathomed that those words would have affected 300 million people.
No.
So the fact that, I mean, I'm not, when I say you, I don't mean you specifically, but the fact
I
that
understand.
people want to cling on to that so hard, like, we have to Bill of Rights. I mean, every founding fathers, we got to listen to them. Why? You know what I mean? Like, why? If we were to rewrite the Bill of Rights right now, do you not think that we could improve upon what they said? Not saying that, like, some of what they said wasn't right or was wrong or whatever, but 200 years beyond that, with everything that we've learned since then, why can't we improve upon that? And it doesn't have to mean that we take away guns or, I mean, we take away freedom of speech or whatever, but you still have to be willing to evolve. You can't live with the same set of rules that was thought of hundreds of years ago.
So I'm guessing you're like progressive.
I am nothing, my friend.
You're like whatever.
I am rational. That's if I had to put one tag upon myself, I think I am rational because I mean, I've talked to conservatives, I've talked to liberals, I've talked to fucking hardcore people on both sides of these issues, and all I end up with every time is what I personally believe. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong for disagreeing with me, or it doesn't mean that I'm right for thinking that what I think is the right answer. I mean, it, you have to be willing to try things. You can't just stick in the same system that's have that has been proven to have failed us for president after president now.
That's like I agree with that idea. The only issue I would see with that would be like what I said. Let's say we have 4 different people, 5 different people, and one guy wins by getting 30% of the vote. So he has 30%. Everyone else has 17, 18, 10,
Right.
7.
Yeah.
That means he has 30%. That means 70% of America didn't vote for him, her, whatever. So that's the only issue I would see with that. Like I would agree with having more options, but that's just the only issue I see.
Well, and see, I don't even think the issue is having more options. I mean, we have options. It's just the other options aren't even seen as options. I mean, they're seen as third party votes that don't matter. I mean, if
Throwaway votes.
yeah, exactly. If you don't, and that's and I don't think it's ever been more evident than this election. If you vote for, I mean, there was so many people that voted for Trump. Why did they vote for Trump? Because we can't have somebody like Hillary in there. And if you flip the script, there was so many people that voted for Hillary. Why did they do that? Because we can't have fucking Trump in there. And I just think that's wrong. If you run your whole campaign on why we can't have this person in office, why do you deserve my vote?
One thing I think is wrong with this election is it's been so the media makes each of them look horrible, and then you have your friends, and let's say me and your friends, you agreed with Hillary's ideas, I agree with Trump's idea. Some friendships are ruined, and family, they're being torn apart because someone believes a different way. I don't think that's right.
No, definitely.
You're entitled to your own beliefs, depending on what they are. Like,
for sure.
obviously, if you want to mass murder people, then obviously that would be a good idea to end a friendship, but for just agreeing with someone's ideas and not liking another's, it's not a reason to end a friendship, not a reason to end, family relations and stuff.
Definitely agree. And that was honestly kind of the most fucked up part about all these people that have been like protesting the election and things like that. And it's like, I mean, how do you not see that the people that you might be standing next to now protesting the results of this election were the same exact people that the day before the election were tweeting and putting on Facebook and wherever
about how Donald Trump said he might not accept him. They're all upset about that and getting mad at him.
He might not accept what?
Like earlier, some Hillary fans and just on the fence people were saying that it was weird how Donald Trump said he might not accept the results of the election if he loses.
Right.
But yeah, you have
wins.
these mass people that go out after he wins and do the exact same they criticized Trump for saying he might do.
Right.
That I think's wrong. And I think the media is covering his stuff now. They don't really grasp that he's our president, that they should report on him as such. Like, you can't make up stuff. Like, CNN I don't even follow anymore because the stuff that you read on there is just bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
I remember one time they made this thing, some of the things Trump said he's going back on now. And one of them was repealing and replacing Obamacare. But yet, in an interview, he said he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. They just make up these things. CNN's not reliable for anything, in my eyes.
Yeah.
They just want clicks, and
right.
during the election, anything about Donald Trump was, hell, anyone would click on that, and then you get money from that. So now they're just going to try and play that card out until no one wants to hear it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's getting to that point now.
That's true. Did you vote for Trump? I assume you voted for Trump. Or,
if I could have, yeah, I'm only 17.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we already talked about that.
Yep.
So, what do you think? What do you think Trump's gonna do?
I mean, honestly, I don't think he's gonna do what he said he was gonna do, and that's what makes me happy because some of the things he said were kind of controversial.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's gonna repeal and replace Obamacare, like he said. But I don't think it's gonna be that much different than what it was.
Right.
I mean, I believe he's gonna do it. I don't think he's gonna be that big of an impact on president. He's not gonna be that progressive. He's not gonna be anything like that.
See, I would almost agree, but the only thing I would say to that is, and I can't speak like specifically, but Donald Trump, if he gets in there and he gets inaugurated and everything, he has the House and the Senate. And I don't know when the last time that a president had the House and the Senate. But so either way, whether his ideas are nonsense or they could actually affect positive change, he can get shit done.
The only issue with that is, like, a lot of his party actually didn't even support him. Like, you saw Paul Ryan, he was completely out against him. I mean, he still probably can pass what he wants as long as it's abiding by what Republicans believe in.
Right.
Anything he wants there, yeah.
It's going to be a fun 4 years, ain't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
I
hope he does get rid of, I hope he degrades abortion policies and stuff like that. I don't think abortion should be allowed. I don't know about you.
I do, personally.
Think it should be?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there, see, we found something to disagree on.
And when I say I think it should be allowed, I mean, that sounds like a very broad stroke. And I don't even mean that in the way that it should be allowed like anyone.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think it should be allowed?
Yeah, I just think there's special cases where you can't say that it wasn't beneficial to everyone involved, besides obviously the baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and this is one thing, this is like kind of a male privilege, is we don't have to worry about getting physically raped and impregnated by someone that we don't even know or is not even.
That's the only way I could agree on abortion. If you're raped, that's
right. And that's basically my whole foundation on it. But the only other foundation I have is, I mean, I don't know. I guess it kind of comes down to if you consider, I don't know, month, 4 week, 5 week, 6 week year old fetus to be considered a human life, and I don't.
When do you consider something to be living, though?
And that's the other weird part of the whole question, because I really don't know where I draw that line. I don't, because
Would you consider living if its heart's beating or when it has brainwaves and it can think for its own? Because that's fairly early in those weeks that you were just talking about. It is fairly early that they can think for their own.
it is. And that's the thing, is like, if if some girl just called me right now and said that they were pregnant and it was my kid or whatever, like that whole situation, it would be damn near my last resort to tell that woman to go get an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just what I believe in. But that doesn't change the fact that I don't think that she should be able to. Well, and see, it gets weird too, because if you sit there and say, like, I think it should be her choice, you know what I mean? It's her body. It's 9 months out of her life that she has to carry this kid and things like that. But if you give them that right, so they can go out and have an abortion and all these things, right? So
That's a privilege that a male wouldn't have, because if a female can
exactly,
go out and kill the baby,
that's
let's say that girl is pregnant and you're really happy about that because you want a child, you want someone to carry on your name and stuff like that,
right.
and then she goes out, you have no choice or say in this and aborts the baby. How would you feel? That doesn't give you any choice or say in it.
Exactly. And that's what,
Obviously, it's not your body, but it's you're a human being that you created,
well,
so
and
you should
yeah,
have a say in
exactly.
that
and
thing's life.
and to further extrapolate on that point that it's not your body, the the thing is it's not your body. So this woman could choose to have an abortion, right? So she has
But
an
is
abortion.
your baby in there?
She has an abortion, kills your baby, even though you're completely on board with this baby. You want to have this baby, you'll take care of this baby, whatever. But if it's the other way around, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying, I don't want this baby, I don't want nothing to do with this baby, and this woman has this baby anyway, I'm still somehow responsible to pay child support
Mm-hmm.
for this baby. And that's totally fucked up. That's totally wrong.
So you think that if you want an abortion and you're the father, that you should be able to opt out for uh, child support?
I think if it's weird. It's a slippery slope no matter what.
Because if you do allow that, then the mom's going to raise that kid saying that your dad never paid for you and that he's a deadbeat, and then that child's going to raise the mentality of children that have no father that are in their life is way different and way worse actually
Right,
than a child that had loving father, loving mother the whole life.
for sure. But I
I
also
think people should be more careful where they stick it and if they wrap it or not.
think that's for sure. But I mean, there's a lot of cases though where it's more complicated than that. You know what I mean? You might have wrapped it, or you might have tried to been careful or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and then now all of a sudden, this girl that you might have thought you even loved previous to this news coming out, and now she's pregnant, and either you're like, I don't want this kid, or she's like, I don't want this kid. The fact remains, you can't say that as a man. You can't sit there and say, I don't want this kid, because she can sit there and say, well, I'm going to have this kid. And not only am I going to have this kid, you're going to pay child support on this kid. And,
Mm-hmm.
and as a man, you just have nothing that protects you against that.
Right. I just think people should be more responsible as a father. You know, that stuff
For
happens.
sure.
And
For sure.
if you don't want to have that responsibility, it's like gambling. You can put your money in and you're not going to get that back.
Right.
That's a risk you take with banging girls and stuff.
Yeah. I agree with you there. For
Now, if a guy was raped for his for insemination, then obviously you can't. I think you should be able to opt out of that then, because guys can't be raped, contrary to popular feminist beliefs.
Guys can't be raped?
Can.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I said contrary to popular feminist beliefs.
Feminists are a joke. All these stupid little like subcultural groups are a fucking joke. They are
There's no male privilege or
huh?
anything like that. There's no such thing as male privilege.
I kind of disagree with you there, but
Where is their male privilege though? In your eyes, do you think? I can come up with somewhere where there's female privilege.
for sure, based on how,
because then it evens out. Then
yeah,
kind of.
I guess. But I mean,
Girls have a lower insurance rate than a guy does, so there's their privilege there.
It's weird how you can go from male privilege to I don't know. It just gets hairy. It gets weird no matter what position you're trying to defend it from, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're like the most hardcore feminist or if you're the most conservative, like, I don't know, white man dominates all type of person. But there's give and take no matter what you believe. And that's, I think, what society really doesn't acknowledge anymore. Is you're either a feminist or you're, I don't know, what's the word for
Meninist.
Meninist? Yeah, exactly. And that's fucked up, because by saying that you're not a feminist to a feminist, it says like you don't give a shit about women's rights, you don't give a shit about women. I mean, men are dominant or whatever, blah blah blah, whatever the fuck they say. And
as much as women want to say that we're equal, we're not. Like, if you look at genetics, if a woman to work out her whole life, she wouldn't get anywhere near a guy if he were to work out his whole life. It's just genetics and stuff.
Well, yeah.
Unless you take roids, then I guess
but
there's no longer genetics in play.
You're talking about physical genetics. I mean, there's that same example for.
Well, there's also mental genetics. Forensics and stuff, if they look at a letter, they can sometimes tell if it was written by a man or a woman. That's not really sexist in any way. It's just how the brain works and how they write.
Right.
That's stuff I like to study a lot, because in my bio I say aspiring psychologist. I like to look at the brain and how it works. There's different ways a woman's brain works than a guy's brain. That's just how we're born to be.
For sure.
Okay. Well, one way, it's what you're attracted to. A woman's attracted to a guy. A guy's attracted to a woman. Well, it's one way.
Let me extrapolate on that point. How do you feel about the gays?
How do I feel about gays? I think that they're born that way in a different sense. They're born to. I think being gay is okay. That's your choice, whatever you want.
I love you.
What about you? No?
No homo, but I fucking love you right now, because that is the first time I've heard any rational sort of thing come out of anyone's mouth on this app regarding gays.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're talking about me personally, I don't agree with being gay at all. I mean, I'm not gay. I'm not attracted to other men. But
there's some people that are.
Exactly. And I think undoubtedly there's people that are born that way, that were never meant to be attracted to women. I mean, you could put a pile of fucking $100.
Well, that's why when the older times when gays weren't accepted and they were put into these things where they were counseled and forced not to be gay, they didn't like women yet. It's not like it changed their mind about it. No. Just like a psychopath, you're not going to change their mind just by telling them not to kill someone.
Exactly. And
it lies deeper than that.
Yeah, and I mean, you see some of these like pro-gay rallies or whatever. I mean,
That I don't really think so, right? I mean,
whatever.
you got your rights, you like your men,
Right,
you don't need to rally for it.
right. But my point was like, if you look at those rallies and you see some of these guys that are grown ass men, but they're running and jumping and prancing around in assless chaps,
Hmm.
a bunch of other grown ass men. I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that those people are not born that way to a certain extent. I mean, not every one of them, but you,
Right.
you couldn't pay me any sum of money to get me an assless chaps prancing around with a bunch of other dudes. I mean,
It'd be weird.
yeah, exactly. But those people are completely comfortable. I mean, they're singing, they're dancing, they're fucking jumping around.
And that's good for them. They're expressing their. I mean, obviously, I don't want some guy to walk around like that, but they're expressing their.
Right.
I just think it's weird those rallies in general. Like, I don't think they should be allowed, but not allowed, but they're not really needed.
No, they're not. Well,
Well, maybe because there's people out there that think gays aren't allowed and that they should be.
and and I feel like even like me and you, I mean, I really have no idea who you are, but in I feel somewhat confident in saying like in our idea of like a perfect society, they wouldn't have to jump around and make a scene like that because
They would be accepted.
exactly. I mean, they're gay. You know what I mean? They like dudes or they like
Like when I was 14, 13, I used to be against gays to everything. I used to think they were horrible. They should be put in their own little island somewhere else. And then I started talking to this one guy at work, and he was gay, and I didn't really know that at first. And we just started being really good friends. And then he told me that he was gay, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't change my mind about him. He's still a good friend of mine,
exactly.
and he still is. He's not a different person because he's gay. He's
And
still that same person.
that's beautiful. That's how it should be.
And he changed my whole mind. I let him know that. I said, if you had told me that when we first met, I might have just never talked to you. But you changed my whole mind about looking at people.
Exactly, because it goes beyond gay or straight. Because I mean, you could apply the same thing with, I mean, Christian or Muslim or I mean, animal rights or no animal rights or I mean anything. I mean, people are people. It doesn't matter if you disagree on this or you disagree on that. At the end of the day, the thing that we share in common every single time is that we're people. And I mean, I guess to a further extent Americans. So why not accept everyone? Because you're not going to change everyone's mind. It doesn't matter what the issue is. So,
You know, like some people I debate with, there's no point in debating with some people sometimes because they're not going to change their mind just because you made a good claim and their claim was wrong.
exactly.
They're still going to believe that way. I mean, maybe if you change one person's mind in your entire life, you're already accomplished.
Yeah. I don't know. I I've been trying to change this one girl's mind on here about fucking animal rights for 3 days, and she's still
What about them?
she's a vegan.
Oh, yeah. My girlfriend's a vegan. I have to deal with that stuff all the time.
Oh my goodness. Oh, what do you tell her?
I mean, sometimes when she first was vegan, she first converted to veganism, I guess it was. She would always show me these videos of animals being killed and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess. I don't really care. And then she said that it's wrong that everyone should eat plants. I said, well, you can't really do that in a widespread, thing because if you were, think of all the people that are starving now, and we have both of them. If you were to cut out more than half of what's out there, imagine how many people would be starving.
Exactly.
And plants need food too, so we're going to be challenging each other for that food. You can't cut out that. much as you don't like seeing a cow get its head chopped off or slaughtered,
Right.
it's needed.
Exactly. And my biggest problem with that is, and this is what I was trying to tell this girl that I've been talking to, is because she's like a full-scale vegan. I mean, all the way down to she doesn't even use makeup or hair products that use any sort of animal products in them, supposedly. But I feel like, and her whole justification was she can't take from another life to benefit hers, right?
Right.
So by saying that, and this is what I told her, is by saying that you are saying that a plant is not alive, and a plant's life is, because it's undoubtable that plants are alive. I mean, they're
Yeah, you can actually even watch videos where they're responding to certain stimuli.
exactly.
Some plants that are talked to, like animals, they'll grow better.
Exactly. So how can you not see that line that you've drawn is just between, like, basically like living, breathing animals and plants? But I mean, plants go through the same hardships that animals do. I mean, if you have a pasture where you have 50,000 cows on top of each other where they can't even move, right? And all those cows are destined to just get hung up and their throat cut and slaughtered for meat for us, you and me, right?
Right.
So how is that any different than a field that's X amount, whatever the fucking size the field is, but the only thing that's planted in that field is corn, and the corn plants are planted so close together that nothing can grow in between them, and nothing can prosper except that corn plant because they're planted so close together. How is that not the same thing?
I guess in their eyes, it's just maybe the blood or something like that. But I mean,
It's the
I don't see anything wrong with
man.
killing plants. I don't see anything wrong with killing animals as long as you're using what you
Exactly.
kill.
That's exactly what I tried to tell this girl. Is I 100% agree that the way that we sustain our meat now, as far as like a mass scale for everyone, is
It's disgusting.
it is 100% disgusting. But if I go out on November 15th and I go sit in the woods all day long and I'm just trying to wait for this deer to walk out, this big deer that I've been seeing, or whatever the fuck it is. And this deer walks out. I shoot this deer, right? And it drops dead, done. I can't say 100%, but 99.999% of this deer's life has been spent completely wild, completely free, completely able to do whatever it is that they want to do, all the way up until the point where it happens to walk out into this little clearing where I'm watching it and I fucking shoot it and it drops.
Yeah.
I can't understand how that's possibly inhumane, because all these vegan hardcore vegans would say that's still inhumane. And
I mean, as long as you use it, I don't think it's inhumane.
exactly, because if it doesn't matter what phase of life you look at, whether it's mammals, whether it's bacteria, whether it's plants, whatever it is, life eats life. Nature is a brutal son of a bitch. I mean, it does. The deer that I'm talking about that I might have shot and killed dead, but say I just didn't want to shoot it for whatever reason and it just walked on. 2 hours later, it could have been pinned down and helpless by a bear and getting its throat ripped out.
Or it could have contracted a disease and died slowly.
So, I mean, that's
And then eaten by another animal, and that animal gets that same disease, spreads on throughout.
Exactly. And that's why I go back to life. It really does kill life. I mean, you can't sit there and say that it's not okay to kill things that, and I don't even understand what vegans' definition of life is, to be honest, because every vegan I've talked to, as soon as you bring up plants, they're like, oh no, that doesn't count. Plants aren't alive. They can't feel emotion. They can't feel pain. So
Funny thing is, some vegans are okay with abortion.
yeah. Well, are you okay with abortion?
No, we talked about that. Unless it's rape, that's the only.
Okay, yeah, we did. Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm gonna head to bed then. It was nice talking to you.
All right, for sure. Yeah, I'll follow you. Maybe we'll talk later on or something.
All right, I'll follow you back.
All right, sounds good, my friend. Good conversation.
Yeah, see how it goes.
Peace.